So it has been 6 months since I started using the POCO X7 Pro, and after switching back and forth between other phones, I think I've gathered enough long-term impressions to see how this phone actually holds up over time. Back when I made my 30-day review, I already said that the X7 Pro felt like one of the most balanced mid-range phones you could buy. And now, half a year later, my opinion largely remains the same. But there are definitely some new things worth sharing, both good and not so good. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. I'm Renzo and I feature interesting or affordable tech gadgets on this channel, so do subscribe if you want to see more. Let's start with the performance side of things, because this is where I noticed the biggest changes compared to my first month. Now, the phone still runs really well for daily use. Scrolling through social media, jumping in and out of apps, or even doing a bit of gaming here and there feels smooth for the most part. But over time, I've noticed that the X7 Pro kills background apps more aggressively than I would like. By the time I open a third app, the first one is usually already closed. And this is something I wasn't experiencing as much during the first few weeks, so it definitely became more noticeable with long-term use. Then there's RAM. I originally tested the 8GB RAM variant, and while it can definitely hold up, I did notice occasional stutters when switching between heavier apps or even when scrolling through social media feeds for long sessions. To be fair, it's not deal-breaking, but you do feel the difference. Now here's the interesting part. I decided to turn on RAM extension, something I usually don't recommend because it uses your storage as virtual RAM, and most of the time, the benefits are minimal. But in this case, I allocated 4GB of RAM extension on the 8GB model, and it surprisingly worked really well. The stutters were almost completely gone, and it started feeling like I was using the 12GB RAM version of the phone. That said, the aggressive background app killing is still there. So while RAM extension helps smooth things out, it doesn't solve everything. My takeaway here is simple. If you're deciding between models, 12GB RAM is the sweet spot for this phone. The 8GB version is usable, especially with RAM extension turned on. But if you want that stutter-free experience and smoother multitasking, go for 12GB if you can. Oh, by the way, the problem last time, where a game would immediately close once you switch to an app, is now fixed here. Although POCO didn't explicitly mention what they did in the recent updates, I haven't changed a single thing since the last review. Now here's something I did not expect to be talking about in a 6-month review. Storage refresh. Since I switched devices a lot, there was a period where I wasn't using the X7 Pro for weeks. When I picked it back up, I noticed something strange. The phone was sluggish, almost laggy during the first week of getting back into it, but then after a week, it suddenly smoothed out again. I later realized this was because of a feature called storage refresh, which is basically automatic defragmentation that happens daily to keep the phone running smoothly. It's a 1-week process, so if you haven't used your phone in a while, don't be surprised if it feels slower at first. It's literally optimizing itself in the background. And honestly, I think it's nice that POCO included this feature because most mid-range devices don't really bother with long-term optimization like this. Now let's talk about heating and stability. For the most part, the phone handles temperature well. Gaming sessions are manageable, browsing is fine, and I haven't had any major concerns. But there was one instance that stood out. During a video call on Facebook Messenger, the phone started heating up a lot, to the point where it got really toasty and laggy, making the call almost unusable. The good news is that this only happened once, and I haven't been able to replicate it since. Still, it's something worth noting, because even though it's rare, it shows that the phone can occasionally struggle in situations you wouldn't expect. The only consistent slowdown I've experienced is when processing photos or videos. Taking a picture or shooting a video works fine, but when you go to check it immediately after, the phone sometimes needs a few seconds to process it. It's a small delay, but you do notice it. Not a huge deal, again, but still a reminder that this is a mid-range phone, not a flagship. Battery life after 6 months is still solid. The 5000 mAh capacity holds up well, and I still get through a day without needing to charge in the middle. The 67-watt fast charging continues to be a lifesaver, especially when I need to top up quickly before heading out. No major degradation issues so far, and it's good to see that even after heavy use, the battery is aging gracefully. The display remains one of the strong points of the POCO X7 Pro. The 120Hz AMOLED panel is still smooth, vibrant, and enjoyable for gaming, Netflix, or just scrolling through content. It hasn't lost that wow factor, and paired with the stereo speakers, it's still one of the more enjoyable multimedia experiences at this price point. The camera system continues to impress me. For a mid-range device, it still produces really solid shots with good detail and color balance. Low-light performance is about the same as before, decent but not groundbreaking. The only drawback, like I mentioned earlier, is that slight delay when processing photos, but once the photo is ready, the quality is still really good for the price bracket. Video recording is about the same too, stable enough optical and electronic image stabilization. I think this has the best cameras right now, that is a mid-range gaming phone. Software is another area where the X7 Pro holds strong. With HyperOS, updates have been consistent, and the phone still feels like it's being supported properly. This is one reason why I still recommend the phone today, even with the newer releases coming out. Knowing you will get decent support for the years to come add value to the purchase. You're looking at possibly up to Android 18 support and security patches until December 2028. So after 6 months, where do I stand with the POCO X7 Pro? Honestly, my thoughts are still largely the same as they were during the first month. It's a balanced phone that offers great value with only a few quirks here and there. The aggressive background app management is probably the biggest annoyance. The RAM differences are something you really need to consider when buying, and that one-off heating issue during a video call is worth mentioning, but not something I would consider a deal breaker. But beyond that, the X7 Pro is still a phone I would recommend, even with newer devices like the Infinix GT30 Pro or the POCO 7 Ultra. The X7 Pro still wins in areas that matter long term, like software support, camera quality, and gaming performance. So yes, if you're looking for a reliable mid-range phone that can hold up even after months of use, the POCO X7 Pro is still an easy recommendation from me. So that's been my 6-month experience with the POCO X7 Pro. Have you been using this phone too, or are you considering it over the newer releases? So that's it for this one. Drop a sub or like if you feel like supporting the channel. And as always, until the next one, stay safe.